Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this Monday, October 24th, 2011 edition of Infowars Nightly News. I'm Aaron Dykes sitting in. Alex will be back later after he is done with his assignment. Now, coming up on the show, we have a guest. That's Mark Morano from the Climate Depot, and he's going to break down the ever-crumbling official lies about global warming, a scientific hoax that's been pushed for carbon taxes, and so much more. He's going to show you just further evidence that it's always been a lie. We're also going to cover other strange news, how DARPA and the Pentagon not only want to control propaganda and get inside your head, but they want to use sensors to electronically and supposedly scientifically monitor that. We're also going to talk about how Queen Elizabeth has joined the 99%. She's with you out there, occupiers. And other news, too. But in the first segment, we're going to cover the geopolitical field. In the wake of Colonel Gaddafi's death, there are other countries, of course, on the hit list. Now, you know about the Arab Spring, and hopefully you've heard about all the Western backing, the secret, subtle influences. There's real tensions going on in the Middle East, people really upset over economic and other issues. But at the same time, you do have some very bad players shaping things to come in the region, and Syria has been told that it's next. Among other voices promoting the new talking point is Florida Senator Mark Rubio, who's told Assad that he's next. Quote, if you look at the leaders of Syria, you're looking at today's events, that is Gaddafi's death, as a preview of what your future may hold. Others have repeated this talking point as well. Syrian opposition activist in exile Omar al-Muqdaq told the Middle East dictators they should pay close attention to the fate of Libya's Muammar Gaddafi, basically a threat to these dictators and an indicator that the hit list does roll on in spite of politics, in spite of economic problems and everything. And joining that chorus, repeating this meme that Syria is next as they forge a path to Iran in the ender part of the game, is Senator John McCain, who ran for president. He says the prospect of military options in Syria should be kept open. Quote, now that the military operations in Libya are ending, there will be renewed focus on what practical military operations might be considered to protect civilian lives in Syria, McCain told a World Economic Forum meeting in Jordan. So, of course, it's the last resort to have our troops overseas fighting in conflicts, stirring up wars, but actually it looks like they're just looking for another place to go, another domino to fall. What's really going on in the region in this event, larger event that we know as the Arab Spring? We're going to keep a watch on that. But, of course, we have other quotes, this one dating back to 2007 from four-star general and one-time presidential candidate Wesley Clark. Now, we have a clip coming up in just a moment where he talks about a memo he saw. He was briefed on a classified memo back only a few days after 9/11, when people at the Pentagon, including Paul Wolfowitz, told him that there would be a war with Iraq, no need for a reason, and further disclosed that there was a hit list of 7 countries they wanted to target within 7 years. Those include Iraq, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Iran at the end of that list. And now Syria is in the crosshairs. We really hope that war doesn't happen. Let's play that clip now.
He pulled up a piece of paper off his desk. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office that says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. I said, 7 countries in 5 years. I said, is that a classified memo? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. He was about to show it to me. He said, because I want to talk about it. And I sat on this information for a long time, for about 6 or 8 months. I was so stunned by this I couldn't begin to talk about it. And I couldn't believe it would really be true, but that's actually what happened.
So we're told we all need to support democracy in the Middle East. We're told that the Arab Spring uprisings are spontaneous, that it's just, this democratic, pro-people's movement. But really, there's a hit list. They have the countries. They have to rotate the dictators every so often. Really, these dictators aren't good people either, but basically they are all one-time Western partners. They're pretty much all military-trained assets in one form or another, just more of the Hegelian dialectic to keep the rest of the region in conflict. Now, going back to Senator McCain, not only does he call for military options in Syria, but actually tries to make the argument that the people there want military intervention, that they want U.S. troops fighting wars in their region there in Syria. Let's play those clips now.
As I travel across this region, I have met with heads of state and young democratic activists, business leaders and military officers and many others. And nearly every single one of them does not want wants more leadership, American leadership, not less. Yes, many people in this region may be frustrated or angry with the United States, but it is more likely because they think we are not doing enough to take their side, support their cause, or act in ways consistent with our values. Iran's rulers would be wise to heed a similar counsel. Their plot to assassinate the Saudi ambassador in Washington has only reminded Americans of the threat posed by this regime, how it is killing Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan, supporting violent groups across the region, destabilizing Arab countries, propping up the Assad regime, seeking nuclear weapons, and trampling on the dignity of Iran's people. No the American people and their representatives in Congress more than the need to protect our friends, our allies, and our interests from the comprehensive threat posed by the Iranian regime.
So there's a very familiar warmonger beating the war drums for another country on the hit list, Iran, trying to use that totally concocted, contrived, totally phony assassination plot that allegedly took place with the Texas Iranian man and the drug cartels to also try to promote a later Iran war while saying we need this military intervention in Syria. Now, he mentioned the frustrated countries in the region. Another country on that list is Pakistan, has been for a while. They've not only been angry about the invasion of sovereignty over the bin Laden raid, but also about the drones over their countries and the secret CIA and other black ops operators just running all over their country. And now Karzai, president of Afghanistan, has said in a hypothetical war between the U.S. and Pakistan, he would back Pakistan. So I guess he's on the frustrated list as well. Who knows, perhaps angry they killed his partner in the Opium War, his brother. I don't know. And something else to watch as World War III, unfortunately, continues to boil up and hopefully doesn't come to a head. In financial news, they are using the larger economic crisis and, in particular, the situation with Greece to call for more powers. EU President of the European Council, Herman Van Rompuy, who's also called for a global government, has called for a new Euro empire, a single treasury to oversee the tax and spending of 17 Eurozone nations. So just more power grabs using the classic Hegelian dialectic technique, a crisis created out of financial problems, and then the global solution as always. His quote here, the proposal put forward by Herman Van Rompuy, the European Council president, would be the clearest sign yet of a new United States of Europe with Britain left on the sidelines. And they have their frustrations as well. Meanwhile, the Vatican has called for a, quote, central world bank and a global public authority, saying basically that the larger economic problems need to be solved by a super global entity to be run ultimately by the United Nations. Here's what's interesting, though. You've seen them trying to link Occupy Wall Street protesters to calls for global government, calls for socialism. It's a very diverse group. They haven't called for that. but groups are trying to influence the Occupy movement to adopt those solutions that they're pushing. And here, the Vatican's Justice and Peace Department, more Orwellian nonsense, says, quote, "This should be music to the ears of the Occupy Wall Street demonstrators and similar movements around the world who protested against the economic downturn." So it doesn't matter what the root causes of the economic crash are or what kind of solutions would work, but let's just have a global government solution. That is all outlined in their 18-page document towards reforming the international financial and monetary systems in the context of a global public authority. Meanwhile, you've seen World Federalist George Soros pushing his Bretton Woods II system and other new systems to replace what the IMF and other economic situations have been. Now, in other news, there's been thousands of dead birds that are to be removed from the shores of Ontario. It's more bird die-offs. We've seen a real pattern with this, but never really any good explanations. Here, they're attributing it to botulism. And so then here's a related bird die-off story from earlier this year in Little Rock, Arkansas. And they say weather radar shows something unusual around the time the birds fell. Weather radar screen doesn't just show the weather, apparently. It examined a speck on the radar that showed up around the same time hundreds of birds fell out of the sky. So who knows what that is or if we'll ever get the proper answers, but what is up with all of that? Now, ladies and gentlemen, coming up on November 3rd, we have a special broadcast event. That is the Money Bomb Marathon broadcast. Alex is doing a 24-hour, well, actually it's a 27-hour broadcast. He's going to have all manner of special guests. And we, in the past, have prepared a lot of special programming as well. I think it's very interesting. It is a fundraising event. That's because we don't have corporate sponsors, and we depend on you buying the books, DVDs, buying from our sponsors, and contributing to us directly in order to move to the next level. Now, you've seen this program right here, the Infowars Nightly News, in its inaugural year, only a few months out since the September 1 official launch. It's taken several years to physically build the studio up from the ground up. We have video we're going to show you here in a moment of Alex's call for the Money Bomb. And I'm not sure if it's in this video or the videos that are coming out later in the week, but we have footage of physically building up this room from nothing, building the studio, putting in the soundproofing, the wiring, the glass paneling that has to go in, not to mention all the equipment, and of course hiring great new people to the crew who've contributed special reports. You've seen people like Darren McBreen going out into the street and compiling other types of special reports. We have great guys working behind the scenes, new graphics guys, and we want to add even more to this mission to break through all the nonsense in the mainstream and really try to get the message out before it's too late so we can turn this thing around. So I really appeal to you to help us out if you are a supporter, and if you're a hater, who needs you. Now let's check out this promo video right here.
Our mission at Infowars.com is to audit the Fed, abolish the Fed, restore the Constitution, abolish the TSA, restore the Second Amendment, restore the Constitution, restore the Republic. And if you believe in those goals, then it is your free will, responsibility, and honor to spread the word about our operation and to donate to the 2011 Money Bomb. For many years, I tried to basically stay small, make my films, do my radio show, but it grew and grew and grew. Think about how a Money Bomb that listeners started 4 years ago led to us being able to move into this bigger office. A later Money Bomb helped us expand into the empty warehouse next door. And in the last year, we have built the TV studios and put the equipment in and are now doing a nightly news show every night at 7 o'clock that we're now beta testing and getting ready for television. Right now going out to members at prisonplanet.tv and then reaching millions as it spills out onto YouTube and other systems. Help us go to the next level. Not reaching 15 million a week, but reaching 30, 40, 50 million a week. Our growth curve is exponential, but we need to hit our afterburners and turbocharge. History is happening now. The war for human liberty against total dehumanization is on now. Join us Thursday, November 3rd at Infowars.com. We're going to have a 24-hour plus live transmission with guests and interviews starting at 11 a.m. and running into my next radio show the next day. We're going to have a huge lineup of liberty-loving patriots from all over the world joining us. It's going to be amazing. And this money bomb is going to have a lot of new things added to it that's going to make it even more powerful than past years. So please donate at InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com or Infowars.com/moneybomb, or simply spread the word.